Welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be part 4 of the library tour. I want to apologize in advance for the strange angles on this one. This portion of my shelves is a little hard to access well with the camera stand and with the positioning of the other furniture in my room. So I'm trying to get the best angle here as possible for you guys to see at this shelf right here. So if it's a little wonky here at the start, bear with me. I will hopefully be able to get this figured out as we move along. So this is part 4. Originally we were over on the other shelf unit behind me here. I decided for part 4 to go ahead and jump over to the other side, which is where we are here, just to continue on with my collection of fiction and classics, and then to start into the nonfiction and biographies, because I want to kind of keep genres clumped together. And I realized the next shelf on that unit that we were going to be going to was all nonfiction, whereas this side still has a couple shelves of fiction left. So I thought we would knock off the rest of the fiction works first, and then we could start in on all the nonfiction and the biographies. So we're going to be looking at this eye level shelf here today. So the first book we have here is J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye. I love this edition. It actually it has the same exact cover on the front and the back, except the no author's name here. So I always thought that was kind of cool. I love this edition. This is a book that is obviously, it's a very controversial, very polarizing book. Either you hate it or you love it. I've only read it once, and it was a long time ago, and so I need to reread this one before I form my my new opinion on that one. Next, we have Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. This is just the Barnes & Noble's Barnes & Noble Classics edition. I picked it up for $8 at a Barnes & Noble. I have not read this yet. It is on my list to read. I love Oscar Wilde's plays. I've not read any of his novels yet, though, so I'm gonna start with this one, and I'm very excited for that. Next, we have my Penguin Classics edition of The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. I love this book. It is so good. As you can see, I have quite a few passages marked there with tags. This is a fantastic book. I have this in a different edition over on the other shelf that you saw in, I believe it was part 2, maybe part 3 of the library tour. Next, a very, very cool novel here, 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriela Garcia Marquez. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. This is such an interesting novel. I have never read anything quite like this. The kind of magical surrealism is breathtaking. It's one of those books that when I finished reading it, I had to take 2 or 3 days to fully process it and decompress from reading it, because it is such an energetic read, and it is such an enthralling read, and so magical and whimsical and confusing at times and breathtaking at others. It just packs a punch. There's so much here. Next, this is a piece of nonfiction, but it's written by a fiction author, so I keep it on the shelf, and that is Margaret Atwood's book, Writers and Writing. I almost said Writers on Writing. Writers and Writing. This is her memoir of a bunch of essays that she has compiled of her past essays, all about the writer and the author's purpose in modern society. Basically, as society has changed and progressed and modernized, how has the role of the author, the role of the writer changed? It's fabulous. Next, we have The Poetry of Shelley. I showed this in one of my very first videos here on the channel, talking about works of poetry that I have bought to help myself, kind of to educate myself in the world of poetry, and this was one of them. And I read maybe 2 or 3 poems in here a day, just kind of slowly working through. Next, I have 2 books by the same author here, Thomas Foster, and that is How to Read Poetry Like a Professor, and then his other piece here, How to Read Literature Like a Professor. Obviously, these are both in the same series, and they're super helpful for kind of understanding a lot of maybe higher up literary theory or literary analysis when reading more confusing books, and I have positioned these right next to my copy of James Joyce's Dublineers, because this is a heady book. I have read part of this. I have not made it through the entirety of this novel yet. I'm planning to soon. I have a couple other of James Joyce's works up here on the shelf above, and I'm hoping to take some time and just really dive into his works. Another poetry book that was shown in a previous video. This is the selected poems of John Keats. Then we have Longfellow, a little Signet Classics edition of Longfellow's Evangeline, and some of his other tales and poems in this nice little kind of pocket-sized edition. Then we have another Barnes & Noble Classics edition, Ethan Frome, by Edith Wharton, and a couple of her other short stories. I absolutely love Ethan Frome. I read it closer to the beginning of this year, and loved it. I'm a big fan of Edith Wharton as a whole. The remaining books on this shelf, disclaimer, they are all either different versions of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit or Tolkien-related books. This is my Tolkien portion of the shelf. So we have this small edition of the Tolkien Reader, which is fantastic. There's so much awesome material in here if you're a Tolkien fan, which I am. Next, we have the Unfinished Tales. I'm going to pull both of these out. We have book 1 of the Unfinished Tales by Tolkien, and then we have kind of an edited down version of the Unfinished Tales where it puts all of them into this single volume. I am sure in the future I will be making videos dedicated solely to the works of Tolkien, just because there is so much there. I have this, next on the shelf here is this really cool Tolkien dictionary. It's that kind of soft leather binding, and it has some really cool illustrations throughout. It's a really neat companion piece. Next is another Tolkien work, but not Middle-earth related, and that is his translation of Beowulf. This is my absolute favorite translation of Beowulf. I love the cover on this. It's just a really stunning cover there. Next, we have another one of his translations of ancient Norse poetry here. Sorry about the book tag. I tried to take it off and it pulls the cover off with it, and so I have been defeated and I have left it. Next, we have the Silmarillion. This is just my kind of just a standard copy of the Silmarillion. And then some Middle-earth history here. We have Brennan and Luthien. This one came out in 2017, I believe, from notes that had been compiled from J.R.R. Tolkien's writings before he was able to assemble it himself. I believe his grandson assembled it. Then we have The Hobbit. Any Tolkien fan, you gotta have your copy of The Hobbit ready. And then we have The Children of Hurin. I love this. I love this cover. This is one that I have read portions of, but never sat down and read the whole thing yet. I need to. And then I have The Lord of the Rings, the entire trilogy, all 3 books in one volume here. I would love to get the entire series in separate volumes at some point down the road. And the last couple of books here are just the Weta Workshop's concept art pieces from both movies. These are honestly more coffee table books than anything. A lot more just trying to open this up here. A lot more pictures and illustrations of the costume design and set design and that type of thing of the motion pictures. So they're not literary by any sense, but it's really fascinating to see the progression from novel to movie. And then last but not least, we have this Atlas of Middle-earth. Again, not very literary whatsoever, more of a coffee table book. But for any Middle-earth fan, it's really cool to have a detailed account of all of the maps, all of the geographical areas of Middle-earth. So that is the final book there on my part classics, part Tolkien shelf. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you for the next part of the library tour.